Well, hello guys, so now welcome to another Level Up Does. Today we're talking about this tribute miniature I done right here, which I painted in tribute to the late Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, the first Prime Minister of Singapore. Now, we'll go through the same process. We'll talk about the theme of the miniature, and after that, maybe some tips and how I put it together. So the first thing is, of course, this is painted in the colors of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew's political party, the People's Action Party, of which I'll put a logo picture up right now. And on top of that, a lot of the extra pieces which I would inform you about later is based on a particular article which kind of points out a lot of the words he uses. Alright, these are more obscure words that he tends to use in his speeches and all. And I put them into the theme right here. Now, the first one is the saber right here. Alright, and I name it basically Knuckle Duster, and that is because in one of his speeches he says that if you wanted to put up a fight with him, you better be ready for to put on your knuckle dusters. And it got really popular after he passed away and all. A lot of people were referencing it, so I thought this saber would be well noted for that. So there's a thing you can see he can use to punch someone in this hilt area right here. And on top of that, I like to point out that Mr. Lee Kuan Yew was very, very Spartan in his lifestyle. Even though he was a multimillionaire and everything, he gave a lot of it to charity. And his home, in fact, Oxley Road, was very much unchanged, I think, since the 60s to 70s. So, I like the fact that this saber, which in the Games Workshop line was from a normal militia line, and so it's basically, to me, in the theme, is a cheap sword which he uses to started the to bring around the country and the kingdom to a better cause. And he always believed that if it ain't broken, why change it? And so this saber has always been with him, and has always worked. It's cheap and not very expensive, but he always used it because it was effective. The other piece I took up from one of the word lines he used was ducks and drakes. And if you want to find out what all this means, I'll put a link to the article below so you can read it. And so this is the shield, ducks and drakes, alright, to protect against that. And the sword here, which I call coup de sac. So this sword is the more expensive sword, still keeping with his Spartan lifestyle. I decided to keep it, the colors very nothing ostentatious. I tried to I in fact avoided gold in this entire miniature. Alright, so this is named coup de sac. The other point is, if you twist the miniature in this fashion, you see that the way, if you're facing right to the front, the symbol of the People Action Party is right here. You see the red head of the horse and surrounded by the blue and the white around it. So when it's charging, it's the People's Action Party symbol charging right at you, which I really found really cool when I thought about it. The horse is a black horse, and I chose this because when Singapore split away from Malaysia, alright, everybody looked at it as like the black horse of the area, meaning they would never succeed. And because of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew's leadership and everything, the country prospered greatly, just like this. To me, in the story, this horse used to be weak, and like the black horse was a little group, but he was raised up by Mr. Lee, and now he's a war stallion, which Mr. Lee rides into battle for the country. So another thing is the laurel on his head. His laurel on his head, as you can see, is in the People's Action Party blue. He was always very careful not to present himself as a warlord or anything too aggressive. Therefore, that's why instead of painting it red, I painted it blue. And the red ribbon is in fact at the back, like right here. Alright, and the laurel I named, remember, Ozymandias, and that is because during the eulogy given by one of Mr. Lee's grandsons, very well put, it was said that when he was asked, alright, about whether he would want like statues and everything dedicated to him, he would always say, remember Ozymandias. which is of course a story of a great pharaoh who had a statue made for him, and he was surrounded by all his great architecture. And when it was found, it was all crumbled. So he always felt that his legacy would be the country itself. So, to remind him on that, he puts it on his head, the laurels Oxymandus. So that's basically the theme on the miniature. All right. And also, you can see the another one is the horn is surrounded by another PAP symbol. So that's pretty cool too, I thought. And the last thing is how I put it together is pretty simple. The sword was from a Games Workshop militia miniature. The shield is actually a symbol from the Empire miniatures, and the top is this whole knight area is the from the Bretonian line, and the horse is an Empire miniature. All right, now the hardest thing to paint, of course, was the white. All right, the white is a cool white, of which I'll put a link below to show that the painting process of this. It's a lot of layering. It means you have to start from a gray and literally add a bit of white, and keep building it up. It's a lot of work, let me tell you that. Alright, and I feel that the video below, which I'll link, does a much better job explaining it, so I'll let them do that. The same thing also is of painting black and white, is that you can't give it too strong a contrast. If not, it looks out of place. So, both of these had to be built up. So, but like I said, this was a labor of love, and I did it in tribute of Mr. Lee, and I basically call this particular piece Lao Li, which in Mandarin means old Lee, which represents the man and his ideas, and that he would never give up for his country. And he always has a famous pose where he's raising one hand up, all right, without a sword or anything, but just raising a hand up to for the betterment of the country. And I think it's, to me, represented in this picture here with the same hand raised up, except with knuckle duster right here. So that's the miniature Lao Li. Thank you very much. Till next word.